carbon tax scrapped. What that means and how that would change the life of Canadians, let's find out. Let's first understand a brief history of carbon tax. It was introduced in 2019 by former Prime Minister Trudeau with an intent to reduce CO2 emissions by transitioning towards cleaner technologies and sustainable practices. When it was introduced, it was priced at $20 per ton of CO2 emission, and in next 5 years, that is till the end of 2024, it quadrupled to $80 per ton of CO2 emission. Next month, it would have increased by 20% to $95 per ton of CO2 emission. Now, this is a carbon tax. This is a carbon tax that we're talking about at the federal level. Not all provinces followed that. 3 provinces, British Columbia, Quebec, and Northwest Territories, had their own carbon pricing, which was at par or a little higher compared to the federal carbon pricing. So, with this announcement of scrapping of the carbon tax, British Columbia has also announced that it would cut off its carbon pricing completely. Along with this carbon tax, there was a carbon rebate that was given on a quarterly basis to selective families and at the same time to farmers, indigenous population, small and medium businesses. So, scrapping of the carbon tax would have 2 effects. One would be an immediate effect, and the other one would be a long-term effect. Let's try and find out what would be the immediate effect. The immediate effect would be that starting 1st of April, you would have a reduced price of gasoline by 18 to 20 cents per liter. For diesel, it would go down by 25 cents a liter. And for natural gas, it is analyzed that the price would go down by 12.8%. As per Desjardins' economic report, it is said that the inflation would go down by 0.7% for the month of April, getting it to 2.1% for this month. Now, the immediate effect, as I mentioned, the price of gasoline, natural gas and diesel would go down. To put things into perspective, for a 50-liter tank of gasoline, you would be saving $9 to $10 every time you fill it. Carbon tax has been considered by many Canadians as one of the major reasons for higher inflation and high grocery prices. So this comes as a cheerful moment for a lot of Canadians. This, as I mentioned, would be the immediate effect. What would be the long-term effect? So, in months and maybe a year to come, you would see a reduced speed at which inflation goes up, since you would have lower taxes on the fuel. And why is it that lower taxes on the fuel would reduce the pace of inflation? Well, transportation adds up to a major cost in pricing of grocery items like fruits, vegetables, so on and so forth. So when the carbon tax is scrapped, that specific saving would help the producers or the manufacturers to reduce their prices, or even if not reduce, keep them at par, which would in turn, in the long term, maybe in a couple of months or a year down the line, reduce the pace of inflation. But we have to understand that it is not just a tax or a cess on fuels that determine the price of goods and services in an economy. There are many other factors, for example, geopolitical factors, that contribute to the pricing of goods and services. A very recent example would be the Ukraine-Russia war, which in turn created problems for European nations who used to import their supply of natural gas from Russia. With sanctions coming up, they had to reduce the amount of import, and that shook up the prices. So there was no tax over there, but yet the prices went up. So coming back to Canada now, with carbon tax being scrapped, there would be a little savings in the pockets of all Canadians, and we have to wait and watch how this would go ahead and curtail the inflation rate. For all such updates and for such topics, stay tuned.